Hello everyone and welcome along to a new week of Betting Weekly WTA. We've left behind the clay and we're moving on to the grass, and I'm delighted to say look ahead to this week's 250 events on the WTA Tour. It's our senior WTA handicapper. We've promoted from senior to our WTA handicapper on the back of his fantastic recent form after his 120-1 Jasmine Paolini each way call 60-1 made the final of the French Open, and the week before 2 winners from 2 events. It's our senior WTA handicapper. It's Rory Jiwani. Good afternoon to you, Rory. Well done. Congratulations. Lovely winner there. Didn't turn up in the final, but she was up against the world's best. But a great call to head into a new week and a new surface.
Yeah, no, it worked out well. I think, you know what it's like with punting. You know, we're not terrible at it, and we're not geniuses. We're always somewhere in between. So it's nice to get a few winners in a row after what had been quite a difficult start to the year, and obviously last year wasn't great either. But no, Paolini was, as I said, I was very happy to get out of Roland Garros up, really, because it was a tournament dominated by the big names, with the exception of Paolini. I said her draw was quite a nice one, that she could get going. She's always done well against the sort of bigger servers, bigger hitters. She's always given Sabalenka trouble. When she got Rybakina, I did half fancy her chances, and Rybakina, as had been noted, she's got issues with allergies and she doesn't sleep very well. Someone was noticing that she didn't look like she was sleeping very well. So that's a bit of a concern, an ongoing concern for her. But when Paolini beat her, I actually fancied her against Sabalenka. Then, of course, Sabalenka lost to Mira Andreeva, and Paolini beat Andreeva fairly comfortably in the final. Well, she got the first break against Iga Swiatek in the final, and it was one-way traffic after that. It was kind of, she awakened the beast almost, and Swiatek was brilliant after that, and a worthy winner. It was a result we thought would happen, but nice to find the other finalist, and we're in profit, which it's always nice.
Always very nice. A nice profit. We'll come on to the running total for the profit for the year, but it is profit across both shows now, WTA and ATP Tour, in profit on the tennis boys. The boys are hitting some form right at the right time. Before we head on to this week and we look at the grass 2 events we have, the 250 events, next up is Wimbledon, and the build-up is Wimbledon begins this week. Iga Swiatek, usually a negative about Wimbledon, but she's increased her service speed. She looks so far ahead of the best, and there's big problems with Sabalenka, big problems with Rybakina. She's shortened in the market with Bet Rivers to win Wimbledon. I know you've been quite negative, well, not negative, she's the best player, but that's the one, the Achilles heel that she has to get over. Are you believing that this could be Swiatek's tournament, or do you think that there's still sort of value to oppose the poll?
I'm still against her. I still like Rybakina for Wimbledon despite her sort of health issues. I think with Swiatek, and someone pointed out to me, which was very interesting, we've got Roland Garros again almost this year because the Olympic Games are being held at Roland Garros. So it's a bit of a weird one. So you've got Roland Garros, a few weeks of grass, and then back to Roland Garros again. And Swiatek just hasn't played that much grass tennis in her career. I think she was a junior Wimbledon champion, but in the WTA she's hardly played on grass at all, and she only played Bad Homburg last year, I think, in prep for Wimbledon. I think I've said before, her forehand isn't really suited. The ball keeps low, and she's got a very exaggerated forehand grip. This is the same for Coco Gauff. So the low bounce on grass doesn't help that. I think her serve's improved, but there are more potent servers about. And of course on grass it's about keeping the rally short. It's not like even the slow hard courts and clay, which Swiatek is best on. The rallies are a lot shorter. The bigger hitters, your Rybakinas, your Sabalenkas, are gonna hit winners quicker. On clay, you'll see the likes of Rybakina and Sabalenka almost have to hit 3 winners to win a point. On grass, it's different, and on quicker surfaces, it's different. So I think the pendulum very much swings towards the likes of Rybakina, Sabalenka, Jabeur, who we're going to discuss shortly. You know, she's very good on grass, and there are a couple of others who have the potential, you know, especially with their serves, to get cheap points. I'm even thinking someone like Naomi Osaka, although she doesn't have a great record on grass at all, her serve is probably as good as it's ever been, so that gives her more chances. Yes, Swiatek's serve has improved. She's going to get more cheap points, but I think long run, I think that she is worth opposing still on grass.
Head across to the Bet Rivers website. They'll have all the futures on Wimbledon. Less than a month away now before the action starts at SW19. And if you want to take Igor Swiatek, the undisputed number one in the women's world, you'll get $4 about her winning Wimbledon. So she's the third favourite behind Sabalenka and Rybakina. And the word of caution, she's only ever got to the quarterfinals. That's her best she's ever done at this major. Okay, let's move on to this week. The here and now, the build up to Wimbledon starts, as we say. It's grass court action, and it's in the UK. It's in Nottingham, the first tournament we're going to talk about. Now, the weather in England this summer so far, we haven't had a summer, 2 days so far of summer, it has been dreadful, Rory, absolutely dreadful. The temperatures are going to be in the high 50s, which is the kind of stuff you would be thinking about in sort of March, April. People walk around with jackets. It's absolutely terrible. So usually this time around, good weather, but it's not going to be good weather like that. Before we look at the runners and riders and go through the bracket, what are conditions like here in Nottingham for you in terms of historically, and will this cold snap have an influence on the way you're thinking?
Well, Nottingham actually played statistically the slowest of the grass courts on the WTA tour last year. Its speeds were actually very similar to Madrid last year, although Madrid was very quick. It was scorching hot, very quick. Madrid was a lot slower this year. You'd expect Nottingham to be quicker than Madrid this year, but as grass courts go, it's slower. But having said that, it's still much quicker than clay. It's still quicker than the vast majority of the hard courts that they'll play in all year. So, you know, that is the thing to bear in mind. And of course, it's not just the speed with grass; it's the bounce. You know, as I said, it's a low bounce, which doesn't suit some players particularly well. And you know, we've got, you know, this kind of these warm-ups for Wimbledon. You've got, you know, Nottingham is one of them. Edgbaston is probably the biggest one now. Eastbourne is another big one. You've got the events in Germany and the Netherlands. The Netherlands we'll be looking at a bit later. But, you know, last year it was won by Katie Bolter, who's back this year. Beatrice Haddad-Maia won it the year before, beating Alison Risk in the final. Risk is well used to going deep in grass court tournaments. I think she's past her best now. She might even have retired, actually. But she used to be a sort of, you know... And Risk was one of these players who wouldn't show much during the year, but would just pop up in these grass tournaments and go deep.
David Wheaton of the women's...
David Wheaton, there. Now you're going back a while.
Todd
Tim Martin as well.
Tim Mayotte always gets to Wimbledon quarterfinals, semi-finals.
Yeah.
Before that, another one.
Yeah, before they had Joe Conter won it. Caroline Garcia beat Donna Vekic in a 2019 final. The year before that, Ashley Barty beat Joe Conter in the final. And the year before that, Vekic beat Conter in the final. So, you know, it's... And the year before that, Pliskova against Risk. Karolina Pliskova beat Alison Risk. So, Pliskova, who looks past it now. I mean, she did win in Cluj earlier this year. I mean, if her serve gets going, that's the thing on grass. If someone's serving really well, they're difficult to break, and then you're in the realms of tiebreakers. So that, you know, on grass, having a big serve is a big advantage. Pliskova's in this field, Bolter's in this field. So yeah, Nottingham is a bit slower than most grass courts, but it's still grass, so it's still going to be pretty quick.
Let's have a look at the bracket. Number one seed. This is obviously if it goes the way of seedings, as I always say, things never go to plan. On Jabeur is the number one seed in the quarterfinals. She will play that Caroline Pliskova. Obviously, if Pliskova gets that far, not the player she was, but with that serve, she's still rather dangerous on a grass court. Clara Burrell will meet Lin Zhu, and that's in the top half of the draw. So Jabeur, Pliskova, Burrell, Lin Zhu, which isn't the strongest of the top half of the draw, but the bottom half is probably not weaker. Magdalena Freck will play Katie Bolter. the defending champion, the Brit, and Dollarhide will play Martha Kostyuk. So when you look at those 8 runners and riders, there's not much in it, is it? It's not much. It's not depth to this tournament.
No. I mean, it revolves around Ons Jabeur, really. Obviously, 2-time Wimbledon finalist. She has struggled with a knee injury in recent times, although she did have a good run at Roland Garros, making the quarterfinals. I do kind of wonder, it has made me kind of think, with that ongoing knee issue, whether she's just sort of saving herself for the slams. Because she hadn't shown a lot before Roland Garros. And with the weather forecast, you mentioned it's awful. I kind of had a look. Tomorrow could be a washout, and Friday is likely to be a washout as well, given the current forecast. So there's likely to be some fixture pile-up as well. I don't see Jabeur lasting the distance here, especially if she was put in a situation of having to play twice in a day. I can't believe she'd do it with her knee issues. So, I mean, the problem is with the top half, I don't really like anyone else other than Jabeur. You've got a serving duel between Alicia Parks and Karolina Pliskova in round 1. The winner of that will probably face Heather Watson. The winner of that will get Jabeur. And then the second quarter, it's filled with players who are seemingly allergic to grass. So you'd think Jabeur would get to the final, providing there are no kind of fixture congestion issues. But she's plus 240, which is plenty short enough. The bottom half is a lot more interesting to my eyes. Mentioned Katie Boulter's the reigning champion, and she should be respected. She'll get Harriet Dart in round 1, shouldn't cause her too many problems. Victoria Golubic in round 2 might cause Boulter a few problems. You've also got Tatiana Maria, who reached the semis at Wimbledon 2022. She's in that third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Marta Kostyuk, number 2 seed, has never reached the quarterfinals in any grass tournament. Last year at Wimbledon, she did beat Maria Sakkari and then Paola Badosa, but Badosa retired, and that was before she had a long absence with that stress fracture in her back. And then Kostyuk went out to Madison Keys, who is very decent on grass. Last year in Birmingham, Edgbaston, she lost her opener to Anastasia Potapova, who wouldn't be a grass court specialist. Emma Raducanu is also in that fourth quarter.
She's the interesting one of the tournament, isn't she?
She looked really good on clay, and then made a tame exit in Madrid to Maria Lourdes Carle. And she does make a bit of appeal. But the one I'm really interested is also in that fourth quarter. Is Ashley
before you give us the let's give us the odds. Let's run down the odds. Ons Jabeur is the favourite at plus 240. Katie Boulter is 5-1. She's in the bottom half. She's the defending champion. Pliskova, Pliskova from 5 years ago may have had a chance here, but she's now 6-1. Third favourite, which does surprise me. Emma Raducanu, 8-1. Big question mark about her form. Can she replicate any kind of form that she showed to win the US Open Championship? We haven't seen anything of it. Pressure's going to be on her as well at Wimbledon, and she's scheduled to meet Boulter if the two of them reach the semi-final, so there's an all-British affair. Brits have done well here as well. Kostyuk is 9, Magdalena Freck is 20, Diane Parry is 20, Heather Watson is 20, Tatiana Maria, as you mentioned, is 25, Burrell's 25, Dollarhide 25, Lin Zhu 25, and Kruger at 30. Then we go down into some other lower down, some bigger prices of those other players. But you do like someone in that bottom half of the draw at a decent price, and I did interrupt you because I wanted to think for the big build before you tell us who he is. So you've got someone in that bottom half that you like to oppose these favourites at a very nice price.
Yeah, Aisling Kruger from the United States, who's also in that fourth quarter, the one with Kostyuk and Raducanu. She had a really good grass court season last year. She beat Tatiana Maria in the final of the Challenger 125 event in Gaeta in Italy. Then she was knocked out in qualifying for Wimbledon by the young Swiss Celine Naef, but I'm hoping she can pick up the winning thread here. I saw her in Madrid in April, and she knocked out Ekaterina Alexandrova. I was actually watching that match with Sean Calvert, and Kruger, she's tall.
He was watching a women's tennis match.
He was watching a women's match.
I'm going to have to pull him on that. He doesn't want. He was not like you saying that. He was watching Ashley.
Not for very long, granted.
Oh,
he didn't watch
I'm
all of it.
Staggered. He's watching the women's tennis. He says he never watched. He doesn't know anybody. He never watched a match in his life.
His observation about Alexandrova was she was sour, and she did. She looked really off that day, and she played like it as well. But Kruger was good. She's very tall. She's got a big serve, which she did use to good effect in that match. And her draw is nice early on. Her first round opponent, Yafan Wang, she's won some lowly ITF tournaments on grass, but hasn't done anything on the proper tour. Caroline Dollarhide from the United States and Francesca Jones, both pretty poor on grass. Jones, the Briton, she's 0-6 on grass, that's in main draw and qualifiers on the surface. She's a clay specialist. Dollarhide has not gone far on grass either. So I'm thinking Kruger gets through the first 2 rounds pretty easily. Then it's either Kostyuk or Raducanu. And as I say, neither's really shown much on grass. I mean, I think Raducanu reached the quarters at Nottingham a couple of years ago. And then it's either Golubic or Bolter in the semis, which would probably be quite difficult. But, you're relying, basically what the price is. Kruger's $30. I think, given her easier path, I'm quite keen on her chances. And I think she's shown enough last year to suggest that she'd trouble anyone in this half. And even trouble anyone in the top half as well, especially if Jabeur doesn't get to the final. I think she could go all the way here. So $30 is a point each way bet for me. I'm probably more confident about her than anyone in the other tournament as well. Just the way the draws have panned out and given the likely opposition. As I say, there's quite a few players who don't like grass in this tournament. And Kruger does like grass. And at $30, I think she's a bet.
Kruger is the bet, not Freddie. It's Aisling. She's 30-1. On Jabeur is plus 240. We want to get Kruger giving the bookmakers nightmares, and that's what
I was thinking of a good line, and that was good. That was good.
That was it. I didn't. That was not pretty prepared. I just off the top of my head there. Anyway, but Kruger's our bet at 30 to win the tournament in Nottingham, and with some prices, very low prices about the favourites in pretty cold conditions, not favourable conditions, and a lot of people liking the service. The big transition from clay to grass, it's not going to be ideal, and Kruger, we believe, can capitalise on that at a very, very nice price. 30-1 is the odds. With Bet Rivers now, head across to Bet Rivers, you'll be able to watch all the action, which starts tomorrow very, very early. You'll be able to watch it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to worry about finding what channel it is on all the different TV channels you have stateside. You just have a little bet with Bet Rivers, and you'll be able to watch it on the comfort on your computer, your tablet, or your mobile device. But remember, it's a very early start, probably around about 6 a.m. Eastern time. But we reckon there could be a little bit of a delay because the weather in good old Blighty expected to be cold and wet and horrible. Okay, let's move across to Hertogenbosch over in the Netherlands, where there is a tournament over there where there is a little bit more of a better field. If you look at the players in action, there's a little bit more established names. This is a men's and a women's tournament. You can see the men's predictions on this tournament from Sean Calvert on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match if you want to download that, and or check it out on the YouTube channel. But this is the WTA event, and this is what we're checking out here. Before we go into the bracket and look at the odds and get Rory's selections, conditions here is usually quite a quick court, isn't it, Hertogenbosch? It's usually quite a quick court, so I imagine it being a little bit faster. I haven't looked at the weather forecast for the Netherlands, but I can imagine it being a little bit nicer than what it is in Nottingham.
Only slightly.
Right.
It is quick though. Last year, 5th fastest of the entire tour, 3rd among grass courts, so a bit quicker than Nottingham. Tomorrow, like Nottingham, looks like it might be a washout. It's pretty cool all week. It does improve as the week goes on. So we're starting high 50s. We're sort of edging towards low 70s by the end of the week, but it's not particularly warm, but it's better than Blighty, which isn't saying much.
Not very nice at all. Let's have a look at the runners and riders. Again, if it goes to schedule, we have Jess Pegler making a reappearance, a return. She missed the French Open. The American is the number 1 seed here, and she's at the top of the list. Is on the number 1 seed and on the betting. She will be due to play Kudermetova in the quarterfinals, the number 5 seed. Elise Mertens, number 4 seed. She's still going. She's amazing that she keeps holding on these seeds. She'll play Yuan in the quarterfinals if they go there, but Mertens faces Naomi Osaka in round 1, so that is a very, very tough battle for the Belgium. In the bottom half of the draw, we have Magdalenette. She will play Alexandrova, who is a 2 times champion here. She won the last 2 years. We have Donna Vekic, who plays Mila Samsonova, so that will be the quarterfinals. My looking at this, I think the bottom half is a lot tougher than the top half of the draw. I think the top half of the draw is very winnable. Bottom half, I think you've got to have a little bit of luck to get through. Alexandrova's won the last couple of years, as I have said. If we look at the betting, Jess Peger heads the betting at 3-1 to win on her reappearance. Naomi Osaka, who should have knocked out Iga Swiatek at the French Open, heroic she made there. She's 4-1 here, but can she lift? That was her last match playing the number 1 seed in Paris, and then she's got to go to Hertogenbosch in front of 500 people. It might be very hard for her to lift that. Alexandrova's brilliant record here. The Russian, she's 5. Samsonova, the big server, always a danger on grass. She's 5. Clara Towson had a good French Open, but more a clay court than 9. Vandreva 12. Kudermetova 14. Mertens 20. Vekic 20. Lynette 28. Arantxa Rus is much more of a clay court, is 33, and she's along Alison van Utervignac, who's always there or thereabouts. It always comes out this time of year on the grass. It's quite top heavy, the draw. There's some big names at the top of it, but are those big names worth taking on?
I think they are. I was just saying, just looking at previous winners, yes, as you mentioned, Alexandrova's won it last 2 years. Before that, they didn't play 20 or 21 in 2019. Alison Risker won it again. Just mention her again.
Anyone who's bought Alison Risk names,
cash in at the
Clover.
But it's just, as I say, with grass, because there are so few grass tournaments as well. If you've got a grass court specialist, they're well worth keeping on side. Let's start with the top half. Number 1 seed, Jessica Pegula. She's been struggling with injury. She didn't play Roland Garros. She's never reached the semi-finals of a tournament on grass. Why should she start now? Would be my question to those thinking about backing her. There's nothing that suggests, we're going to see her better on grass now than before. Also in the top half, Elise Mertens, seeded 4, again, never been past the quarterfinals in a grass court tournament. She's got Osaka first up. Osaka hasn't played a competitive match on grass for 5 years. She did make the Nottingham semis in 2018. Her serve gives her a chance. $4? No thanks. Really, definitely not.
I think she's a big game player now.
I think so. I'd agree with that. I think she always has been to be. You could say it about most of her career. I mean, you look at when I think her first win was Miami, or was it Indian Wells? It was Indian Wells that year when she came on the scene. One of the biggest probably the 5th major as they call it. Then she won the US Open. Then she had a couple of wins on home soil in Tokyo when obviously she's the big star. She's won slams. She's probably now more than ever, she's the one for the big occasion, as we saw in Roland Garros. I mean, I didn't see that coming from anywhere. Obviously the roof was closed, which would have helped her, but for her to push Swiatek so close at the French Open was extraordinary. And as you say, I think she's a player, and as I sort of suggested with Jabeur earlier, maybe one just to look out for on the big occasion. She hasn't shown a lot this season outside of that great performance at Roland Garros. She's struggled largely to go deep into tournaments. She hasn't had the best of draws, but when you're with her world ranking, you're going to get tough opponents, and she's ran into them. So yeah, she's far too short for me. Who else is in the top half? Veronika Kudermetova is interesting. She reached the final last year. She lost to Alexandrova on a tie break. She's not been in great form of late, and her record in slams is terrible. Round 1 exit to Marie Bauskova at Roland Garros. But her draw looks pretty nice until the semi-finals. She's got the Chinese bye in round 1, and then probably Arantxa Rus in round 2, who, as you say, is a clay court specialist, no form on grass really either. And then probably Pegula, who, as I say, doesn't have a good record on grass. And then in the semi-finals, you're looking at possibly Mertens, Osaka, Andreescu. Bianca Andreescu made a good comeback at Roland Garros from nearly a year out, but with her, it's almost you're just waiting until the next injury. Unfortunately, she's a very talented player, which she showed again at Roland Garros, but she just gets so many injuries, which is such a shame. She's a major winner, won the US Open a few years back, but just can't stay fit. She did reach the final at Bad Homburg a couple of years back, so she's all right on grass, but you just can't back her with any confidence, given her fitness record. So in the top half, I think Kudermetova looks the safest option.
But she's not going to be our main pick. Our main pick comes in the bottom half.
Yeah, kind of. Kudermetova, for me, she's a 0.5 point each way bet.
Right.
In the bottom half, you mentioned Samsonova, who is an obvious, makes obvious appeal with her serve, but she has been very inconsistent this season. She's had a couple of good wins and then lost very heavily. It was Madison Keys, I think it was, at Roland Garros, beat her comfortably. And yeah, I think she was really heavily touted for Wimbledon in 2021 because she won Berlin in really good style. She reached the last 16 of that Wimbledon in 2021. She fell to Pliskova, but since then she hasn't reached a semi-final on grass. So, which is a surprise given how high she's been in the world rankings, how big her serve is. But apart from that year, that 2021, when she was really talked up for Wimbledon, she hasn't shown a lot on grass since. And given her form, I'd be happy to oppose her. And she's got Alison van Uytvanck first up, who is never an easy opponent on grass. Sticking with the bottom half, Alexandrova, 2-time reigning champion. She's been in pretty desperate form on clay. She'd need the grass to spark a serious revival, but at $5, I think that's too short. Clara Tolson, who's probably best on indoor hard, is probably her preference. She has precisely 0 wins out of 3 in main draw matches on grass. 2 of those were round 1 exits at Wimbledon. So 9-1, no thank you. Definitely not. There's 2 players who catch my eye in the bottom half. Donna Vekic seems to be my cliff horse when it comes to grass. I think I backed her for Wimbledon. I think I backed her 2 or 3 times for Wimbledon in the past. She won Nottingham back in 2017. She's reached 3 other finals on grass. It is her favourite surface. She does get cheap points on serve. Her Instagram, she looks like she's very happy to be back on grass. And she should have first round. She's got Tamara Korpach, the German, who's tricky but shouldn't trouble her on grass. Spain's Rebecca Massarova could be interesting in round 2 as she's quite a good server, but I'd still fancy Vekic to beat her. And then it's Samsonova in the quarters. Might be difficult if the Russian gets that far, but Vekic, she's $25. I think that's a big price, so should be a 0.5 point each way pick. And the other one is just a really small interest, just because I think she's too big a price, and that's the German Jule Niemeyer, who's there, as you can see, at $66. She reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon in 2022, and she probably should have beaten Tatiana Maria there to reach the semis. She's got Towson first up, which won't be easy, but I'll be backing her for that just because of Towson's terrible record on grass. Niemeyer's a powerful big hitter. If she gets going, she could be hard to stop. She might fall in round 1, but at $66, I'm going to go for a quarter point each way on her, just because I think she looks too big a price, and I think, with grass, it's, as I say, there are so many players who are just not great at playing on grass. So if you find one that is half decent on the surface, you might get a run for your money.
Mm-hmm. There you have it. There are the picks. The action starts at 5 a.m. tomorrow, Eastern Time. So make sure you head across to the BetRivers website this evening to get your future picks down. The tournament will be action tomorrow. You'll be able to look at all the different matches, be able to bet live and watch live with BetRivers, because you'll be able to live stream the matches. The match there that Rory quite liked, Niemeyer against Towson. She's plus 143 on the money line to beat Towson. Won't be tomorrow. That'll be on Tuesday. Minus 180 for Towson. It's a favourite that's definitely worth the post. You can check all the outright markets and the match bets all across on the BetRivers website now. Lots of different markets available. The profit's good for the tournament as well. I think how many units are we up now, Rory, for 2024 now?
12. We're about 12 up, 12 and a bit.
Yep.
So that's
12.
That's nice.
That's very, very nice. Nice little bit of profit. Staking about 4 units a day. There are a few ways to follow us here on Betting Weekly WTA. You can download the podcast Betting Weekly WTA from your preferred podcast provider. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. Lots of great content coming your way in the build-up to the Wimbledon. Fantastic amount of subscribers, fantastic amount of viewers over the last few weeks at the French Open. And don't forget, it's Euro 2024 starting on Friday evening, the big soccer tournament. And we have all the handicappers providing all the hard work so you don't have to. And finally, subscribe to, or give us a follow actually, on our socials at Because We Win on Instagram and on Twitter for all the latest content on some of the matches as we go on the world of tennis and the world of soccer betting. Rory, before we head off, just give us a recap of your picks this week.
Yeah, so we started off at Nottingham, and I'm going for a point each way on Aisling Kruger at $30, and then over to the Netherlands, s-Hertogenbosch. I've got a half point each way on Veronika Kudermetova at $14, a half point each way on Donna Vekic at $25, and a quarter of a point each way on Jula Niemeyer at $66.
We are going to be the Robin Hoods. We're stealing from the bookies and giving to the poor with Kruger. It's going to be a nightmare for BetRivers. Follow us over the next few days. Take care.